So I had an interesting conversation with a senior government official in China when I was writing my first book, Powerful, Different, Equal. And I made the observation that most people think of China as not being a democracy, whereas the US is regarded as the most enduring and established democracy. And it was very interesting because he corrected me and he said, Pete, we actually are a democracy, but we have a different definition of democracy. Your definition is an electoral democracy, which means government officials are selected based on who gets the most votes. Our definition of democracy is a government that's responsive to the people. And I thought it was a very interesting distinction. So if you say, well, what is it that actually means listening to the people? I think certainly if you go back to reform and opening up, I'd say prosperity is number one. I'd say sovereignty is high on the list. But all of those, I would say, if you follow the moves taken by the Chinese government, they clearly are sensitive to what the people are looking for and take real initiatives to fix it. If you switch over to the US, the model basically is you count the votes of everyone who is eligible to vote. But that system has evolved in a way that is, I think, undermining democracy in some important ways. So if you go back to the 2020 election, you had the basically revolt that took place in Washington on January 6th, where people were trying to genuinely overturn the legitimate election. And it was made legitimate because there were over 60 court cases where the other side was given the opportunity to bring facts forward to basically demonstrate that there was fraud in election. In every single case, the anti-government position was defeated, basically because they presented no evidence that was credible that it ever happened. But if you look at what's happened at the party level between the Democrats and the Republicans, there are a lot of very specific initiatives that are totally meant to favor one side or the other that are becoming increasingly common. As an example, we have something in the US called gerrymandering, and that gives the state government the right to redraw district lines in terms of how you tally the votes for electing people to Congress and also to the state houses. And so what happens is if the Republicans are in charge, they basically draw the districts in a way where the other side, the Democrats, capture almost all of the votes in that district, but the Republicans are able to capture only 5% more than the Democrats in the other districts. So you can have situations where the Democrats win the total popular vote, but there are more people in Congress from that state, from the Republican side rather than a Democratic. So it's a clearly non-democratic process. The other thing that we've seen is the rules for voting are changed. So you have voting stations that are opened in areas that favor one party but not the other. So you could see that if the Democrats have a strong support from the black vote, the Republicans will try to make it difficult by not opening polling stations in black communities. So if you add up all the things that are done in the name of basically trying to tilt the election in one direction or another, the net result is they're substantial. You know, I personally feel that if the ultimate test of democracy is serving the people, the Chinese model is actually more directly doing that, and the government has been more responsive on that dimension.